Good afternoon. Take your seats, please. I would like to be slightly more charismatic this afternoon. Good afternoon once again, dear colleagues. Welcome to our session. As you can see, it's an international effort which was originated with our colleagues from BEF Germany. So as you can see, it's an international effort between Poland, Latvia, and Germany. And we have Yanis Lapinskis from University of Latvia. Yanis, can you manifest yourself? Martin Lampe and Tobias Potts, is that correct? From Germany, and myself from Poland. We designed this. That you could make it louder, the applause. Bingo. You don't have to pretend the applause, be spontaneous. Anyway, so we designed this session partly in terms of short presentations. You already saw mine, basically, which are supposed to sort of inspire to the group work, which will be the second part of the session. And we hope to inspire you and that you'll leave the room with some thoughts about the coastal communities and what it's all about. Guys, do you want to say something? Should we proceed? Okie doke. So we have 3 short presentations that sort of overlap. Flood protection, modern protection measures, and nature-based solutions for adapting the extremes. We all know that climate change has its consequences, and especially for the coastal zone, the consequences are pretty harsh due to the sea level rise and far more frequent, really strong storms. And the coastal area is hugely important for all of us because, as we can see in this slide, pretty much everything is there, and we have a lot of impact from humanity on the coastal area. Hence on the ocean, because coastal area is part of the ocean, of course, but also the ocean pays back due to the climate change consequences, as I said, in terms of storms, in terms of sea level rise, warming up, and so on and so on. We all know that, and we discussed it today. So coastal zone is a really fragile, hugely important area, and we really, for many, many years, we were just talking about the ocean, and we didn't really pay much attention to coastal area for whatever reason. I don't actually know why, but it was always the deep ocean, deep ocean. Now there's a lot of discussion on the sustainable development of the coastal area, of sustainable management of coastal areas, and I will give you one example of, in my opinion, not very, my Polish colleagues already know what I'm talking about, yes, I can see. I'll show you the Orłowo beach in Poland. This is the area. As you can see, it's a micro bay, and please bear it in mind. For Poland, I think that's why my colleagues were laughing, it's an iconic place because there is an iconic cliff in there. And in Poland, we are investing, in this area, we are investing in making the beach look like that. This is 2013, and this is like the dream beach in this area, which is not the case. So what we have to do is do a lot of work in order to get the beach like that. So this is what we want, personally not myself, but this is what we want, and this is the iconic cliff that I was talking about. Everybody knows this cliff. I think it's one of many, but for whatever reason, this one is the iconic one. So 2020, huge work like that in order to obtain this beach. 2022, very strong storm. This is what was left. A lot of effort, huge amount of money, months of work. After 2 years, this is the result. I'm not proud, but but I can say that I took this picture. I'm not proud that I took this picture, but it was obvious that I had to. I mean, waste of money, waste of efforts. I don't think it was very properly prepared. So what are the options? And my colleagues will develop on that. So the options are, we have the gray measures engineered. So we combine the nature-based solutions with the engineering solutions. And these may be the seawalls, storm surge barriers, but also they provide the immediate protection, provided that they're, again, properly done, but not always this is the case, as you could see. And what they require is the major capital, maintenance, and they can transfer risk elsewhere. And in our case, all the sand that was put into the beach in Orłowo came back to the origin in Sopot. If we go back to that area, this is where the sand came from and was back after a couple of years. So really not that much of sense. The second option would be nature-based solutions. The best examples are mangroves and coastal wetlands. Mangroves have been, for many, many years, have been really disregarded, destroyed. The worst example is the American treatment of the mangroves in Vietnam area, because they more or less burned 80% or something like that of all the mangroves. So very natural barrier to protect the coastal area. Now they're being restored and worldwide, and actually there's quite a lot of success in these efforts. Coral reefs, we're quite good in destroying them, unfortunately. Dunes, beach nourishment, living shorelines. Again, in our place, Sopot, we are luckily protecting the remains of the beach of the dunes that we have, because this is the only natural protection for the town, and other measures that we can take. And the hybrid, this is the combining tidal marshes or reefs in front of the seawalls. So we combine the solutions. Sometimes it is the only option, because the natural-based solutions will not always work, and we have to be aware of that. But it makes a lot of sense to figure out what is the best solution. So these are the three options. And Tobias, that's no, I'm sorry, it's Yanis now who's taking over.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for this opportunity. So now I will proceed and try to give you some insight in some nature-based approaches for the management of the beach, of the sandy beach and the sandy dunes. The area in question is actually not very far from here, just some 10 kilometers. It's the southern part of the Gulf of Riga. This here area, very close to the mouth of Daugava River. So this area historically is dominated by sand accumulation, by the sediment accumulation, mostly sand, but due to various anthropogenic pressures during late 20th century and as well today, erosion intensified, mostly wind erosion, and in some cases, in some short sections of this part of the coast, the wave erosion, the actual coastal erosion is taking place as well. The coastal erosion I'm talking about is mostly due to anthropogenic pressure from recreation, from recreational load, because this area is very close to the Riga, and very easily reached by the many kinds of transportation, so quite high recreational load. And due to severe storms in the late 20th century, and especially due to storm in 2005, which was already 20 years ago, but feels like it was yesterday, yeah. There was quite severe damage to the foredune, and especially in the areas with the highest value of recreational load. Depending on the climate scenario, we are expecting some 15 to 50-ish meters of coastal retreat due to erosion, mostly, in some cases due to inundation, by the end of this century in this particular area. So to alleviate, or at least to compensate for those anthropogenic pressures that we have here, some measures was taken during the 2018 and 2019. Mostly dune planting, so-called dune fencing, and branching, which is the covering of the wind erosion areas with the branches of pine trees and something like that. Approximately 20 hectares were affected. The covered area was smaller, but the affected area approximately 20 hectares. And the goal was to reduce the risk of wind erosion and to increase, in some cases, the value, yes, of the recreation area, which is the main way of utilizing this area of coast. So those are the fences. Those fences came in various shapes and forms. Almost all were made from the natural materials collected nearby. So as there was an effort made to use as least industrial materials as possible. This was not like 100% successful, but close to that. Yes, there is another example. This is several months after installation of one of those fences, and this is 1 year after the installation. Those are just some examples of those fences. In this particular case, you can see the fence is buried by the wind-blown sand, and there is some destruction happening due to beach goers that were unimpressed with this installation. Yeah, the results were almost exactly as expected. So the accumulation of wind-blown sand was taking place in the leeward part of the new, like, embryonic dune, and the amount of accumulated sand was quite high, especially in the fenced areas. The amount of extra sand that was accumulated above the background level was somewhere in between 1 and 2 cubic meters per meter of the coast. But there was a rapid reduction in the effectiveness of this measure because those fences were buried, they were destroyed, they were dismantled, and several years after the installation, the effectiveness dropped quite significantly. In the dune planting areas, we had, let's say, different degrees of success. There was areas where those planted dune grasses were, let's say, they were not up to the task. The load, the recreational load, the amount of people walking in those areas were too high, and so this was ineffective. But this effect of the extra accumulated sand was actually close to the effect from the fences, but it was stretched over a period of several years. And it's still working 6 years after the implementation. There is still, you can see, you can measure the effect of that. So that is the results of this particular, that's not the experiment. Actually, this is the golden standard of sandy beach management in Latvia, at least for some 20-ish years already. So.
Perfect. So first of all, thank you, Timon, and thank you for the organizers for giving me the possibility to present our project here. I'm coming from a different angle. This is more about citizen science. So this is us divers, actually, so scuba divers planting seagrass in a small island in Germany. So first of all, who are we? Maybe give a little bit introduction. We are a diving club from northern Germany. You can see us around here, happily waving our flag. And we had some kind of a sustainability rebranding, so we wanted to do a little bit more than just regular scuba diving. We wanted to have some sustainability impact in what we do, and this happened around 2023. And we focus on some garbage collection in rivers and lakes. We pull out all of the garbage, ghost net retrieval, so nets that are still there, that are still caught fish, but they're not actively used anymore, and seagrass reforestation, which is what I talk about today. We are 67 members who work on this, and we're part of a larger diving club network, so we're trying to establish more connection to other people who might have similar things in mind, who are working on their own at the moment. What is the general idea? As I said, reforestation of seagrass meadows in ideal location. You can see a screenshot from a video that we took, how an ideal seagrass meadow would look like. So we have completely covered patches with long seagrass here. And we wanted to target vulnerable coastal locations, so locations where there should be ideally seagrass, but there is none due to varying factors. And we do this all in collaboration with the GEOMA in Kiel. So this is the scientific background that we have, who help us in doing all of the scientific background that we need there. This is all built on previous experience that we did in Denmark, where we help people, and also on other sites where we did this since 2021. At least some of us did. The general idea is also, once we planted all of this, we want to monitor the development over the coming years. How does it work? First of all, we need to harvest from healthy donor meadows. You can see this a little bit on the right-hand side. You actually take a shovel and you dig them up and make sure that you don't destroy the root base. Next up, you do the transportation in buckets, so you can see how this would look when you dig them up. They're all connected still. We transport this from our donor meadow to where we actually want to replant them. For ease of counting, we do separation into individual seedlings, so you can see a little bit that these have been cleaned, and you can take each seedling individually. To make the counting easier, we bundle them up in groups of 50. So each bundle here is like 50 seedlings. As I said, counting and bundling, and the last step is planting by hand. You can see there's someone actually putting each seedling in by hand by themselves. And in the end, after we've done all of this, we want to monitor it. So where is this happening? As you can see, we're currently in Riga, and this is the small island of Fehmarn in the northern part of Germany. Giving a little bit more close look, this is the island itself. This has a lot of shallow cold water around its coast, so all of this, we have a lot of areas where there's something like 1 to 5 meters of water depth, so this is an ideal location for seaweed to grow. And we also have some healthy meadows where we can actually So this is one of the healthy meadows where we can actually take some seaweed and then we can do the planting. You can see it maybe a little bit here. There's a lot of sand patches around there. So this is also where we did all of our planting this year. So we can take from the healthy meadow here, which will be destroyed in the coming years anyway due to construction work, and we can replant this around here. We don't just take the whole patch and replant it, but we do individual seedlings, so that means there's some distance, and then it can grow together again. For 2026, we already did our survey for next year, so we plan to work on the southern coast and also on the west coast here, which would also be somewhat ideal to location that we already scouted. And we have this trial location where we could see there was no seagrass at all, and we don't know yet why. So we will do some tries there next year and see if anything sticks. So what was the goals of our 2025 project? First of all, spot the ideal locations. You can maybe see this a little bit. This is just sand. So there should be seagrass, but there is none. But what you also see is there are no aquatic graveling life. So that means there are no crabs there are no worms there. If I would plant something and I have a lot of worms in there, they would just dig it up. Crabs like to pull them out and eat the roots. That's also not ideal for when you want to plant the whole meadow. For this session of this year, we wanted to have something like 4 planting, or there's an N missing, planting, not plating sessions. These are 2 to 3 days of work from beginning in the morning to end of the evening, and then have 2 monitoring sessions after a couple of weeks to see if anything of what we actually planted there sticked. All in all, we had something like 63 divers in the water for this session, for all of the sessions, and something like 1,500 hours worked from all divers collectively. And we planted something like 38,000 seedlings all by hand. So that comes close to an area of 4,000 square meters. We talk what coastal areas are. This is not a lot, but if you talk about doing everything manual by hand, for us this was a lot. And we checked that after 8 weeks, we had something like 3,400 square meters that were still growing, that were still healthy, and then that showed some significant growth. This leads to what's called a cumulative production rate, so the rate of how much has the meadow grown to 1.95, so close to doubling of the actual area. Let's see. All right, so what's the current status? 2025, we have most of the area covered that we scouted. We could optimize all of our procedures that we did. So in the beginning, we started with just taking out from individual patches. In the end, we noticed we could just take from the areas that will be destroyed next year anyway, or the coming years. That made our operation way more effective by working from boats. And we could already scout the areas for next year. And just to speak a little bit about the cost, because this is for us a quite intensive amount to get all of the money in and get the people involved and get the boat and everything running. The overall cost for this year was something like 52,000 K, which is for us a lot, but this breaks down to something like 15 euros per square meter planted, which is a little bit more to be handled. And currently it's still the case that all of the divers, contributors, donors, everything who is involved, they need to come to us. We need to coordinate, we need to work on all of these things individually, which is also a lot of work, which we want to change in the future, of course. We don't have the possibility to have the data broadly available, so that means nobody can look up now, hey, where's something happening? This is also stored currently with us, which is something that we want to work on in the future. Where we said we just want to be more of a coordinating instance, so brief other people on how it's done, and then have, for example, local diving shops or individual diving clubs come to us and they do the actual work instead of us being there every time and needing to coordinate at the spot. We want to be more of a higher level instance in the future, or at least we hope to be there. We also want to provide something like an online database to have more access for other people to see how is the project going, or other diving clubs see where are things happening at the moment. And one idea that came to me at one point would be having some kind of seagrass diving tourism. So there are people who actually dive for fun in the Baltic Sea. I know that might be a little bit confusing to some, but there are people who actually do this for fun. Maybe they want to spend half a day, just help us in the field and plant a little bit, because it's actually quite fun if you don't have to do it for 3 days, but just half a day might be a little bit more approachable. A little bit about the outreach. So because this was also a little bit time consuming for us, there were all in all like 6 news articles and 2 TV shows and multiple local politicians coming to us and talking to us. So this was outreach-wise a very big success, though we still have to do everything by ourselves, because a TV show doesn't really help us much except for outreach. I skipped this one because I misunderstood the assignment a little bit, and this is already my last slide. So I want to thank you for the attention. If you want to have more information, you can scan the QR code or look at one of our websites, and here you can see on the right-hand side, it's actually sometimes sunny there and actually a lot of fun to do this. Yeah, thank you so much.
No, yeah, in a moment, yeah. Do you have any questions or comments after these 3 short presentations? I have a question. One diver, how many seedlings can you do in one day?
In one day? So normally
it looks like.
We do it so one dive can be... Okay. So one dive can be something like an hour and a half until you get really, really cold. And what was the biggest thing you did?
500 up to 1,200.
500, 1,200, you can do this. I mean, you can be fast at one point.
Depending on the experience of the diver.
Yeah.
Anyone? Yes.
I might be loud enough.
Apparently for the recording.
Oh, sure. Thank you so much for that presentation. I had a question also for you. And I'm sorry if I might have missed this and you said it, but I'm curious about how do you know, or how do you assess, or are you working with other scientists, for example, to assess, like, in this area that you're moving the seagrass, why isn't there any seagrass there in the first place? Is it going to become a population sink rather than like be able to propagate other areas? And like those kind of little questions about like the long-term sustainability of the project.
Yeah, this is, so we're working together with Guillaume here who observed all of the different... So we worked together with the Guillaume and Kiel who did the survey for us beforehand. So this is not an idea that we came up with, but they surveyed beforehand what are locations where this might ideally work. The reasons why there is none might be manifold, because the locations where we worked in, mainly this year, has quite a lot of current to push through. So we can see there might be some erosion happening there. It might be also due to the heavy use of the water around there. So Fehmarn is very well known for water sports, for example. There's a lot of fishing happening. This has some indications, but it's still up for us to do the monitoring over the years. So the locations are ideal, but there is none is kind of a warning sign, one could say. So we have to see over the coming years what might be the influence. Sorry to be not so clear on that.
Anyone else? Nope. Okay, so I would like to ask you to actually try to sit at 3 tables. That would roughly mean 7 persons per table. And Natalia and Jan, could you please distribute sheets of paper and markers? Could you join forces somehow? 2, 4, 6. Two, four, six. I don't know. Annette, are you joining? Guys, are you joining? Excuse me, are you joining any of the tables? Okay, so. Two, four, six, so that we are more or less evenly distributed in terms of numbers of people. Are we all set? Markers are given. Okay, so that would be your task for the next 25 minutes or so. Guys, can I have your attention, please? Tarmo. Sorry. We have three options for discussions at your tables, barriers and solutions. We would like you to use the next 25 minutes to choose the topic and then discuss from your own experience, your daily works, what are the barriers in dealing with sand beach management or flood protection or seagrass restoration. You have to discuss it in your table, which topic you would like to discuss, and then propose some solutions. This exercise is just sort of like exchanging your own experience and sharing some good stories. Hopefully, they will be helpful for you on your daily routines after we leave this room. So we choose only one of these? Yes, just one topic. Okay, so 25 minutes. Okay, so in order to finish on time, we have to, guys, I'm sorry. The world conquering group, please. Yeah. Are we ready for presentations? So Aneta, that's yours. I'm gonna hold it and.
Basically, I just wanted to write notes, but yeah. So we decided that we will do some discussion for barriers and solutions for flood protection, and then about seagrass restoration. Yeah. So what we found as barriers in flood protection. Hello. Yeah. So. Sometimes there's a tendency when working on flood protection solutions, there's a tendency not to assess future consequences well enough. Yeah, so you design something maybe, and then you forget something to think, and then some issues may arise. And then we also discussed that in a community or town or where people live, sometimes there is this reluctance for community to accept some changes which are done because we need to do something to protect ourselves from flood. And I outlined that it's, of course, landscape related or also common knowledge and tradition and so on. People are conservative in a way of our views around the world, visual views. And yes, and then we had this discussion, what exactly are we discussing here? Like flood protection for natural area, outside in the countryside with dunes, or we are discussing cityscape with the dikes, with some front lines, with the small beach, and there is a lot of people behind the dike or wherever. And that was what I said, okay, what's the area? And then we really should be clarified, and this all should be solved based on area specifics. Each case is unique, and that's why we never have the universal solution for life, Yeah. And as a solutions, of course, we discussed, I think it more applies to natural areas, that of course that in nature we have natural buffer zones, and sometimes in land planning we also design these buffer zones, and those are the territories which should be the best one to work with flood protection, of course, nature-based solutions. And then we came back to good old landscape ecology. If we always keep in mind landscape ecology basics, then we can kind of work with the nature-based solutions. And structure community flow, this was more related that when we, people like to walk around, but we really should think about planning infrastructure, planning some walking roads, small trails, and if we structure and organize the way where people go, it is also more efficient where we organize some flood protection, because then we have natural areas, natural coastlines, and where the people are, of course, we consider this aspect. And of course, we also have thought that a very important solution is warning systems. And then, of course, I have a money sign because funding for research is always important. And this is also here for seagrass, yes, funding everywhere. It's also a barrier, money. And yes, regarding the third one, we thought that the seagrass protection or restoration is quite expensive. And for example, in Latvia, we don't have so many divers actually, or we are not sure if we could concentrate them in one place. And then we also thought if they are impacted by the fact how long is summer season, but I know that they were hydra, so maybe they are not cold and can dive in winter too, I don't know. And then we also thought that environmental conditions should be considered. Yes, that for example, there are some areas where maybe you can't even plant seagrass. Yeah. And then we also were not sure if fishermen nets are not destroying seagrass. They are destroying, okay. So yeah, they are destroying. And what could be solution? From our perspective, seagrass restoration should be very, very well planned and organized process. And I think we should shout out to the divers who do it voluntarily. And then we also thought that it's very good and very important to have scientific partners in this type of initiatives, because they can supervise if the grass fits with the ecosystem, you know, so that we don't make any changes to the underwater. And of course, we need money. And we also thought about one more bigger problem, that there is all this, that we should think about land-based solutions to reduce nutrients, but that's, you know, big policy planning thing, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no, you can keep it. Any comments or questions to the group from the others? No? World conquerors, do you want to present yours? Yes, there's only one group that wants to conquer the world. Oh, bingo, I don't have to hold it now. Perfect.
You hold the microphone. Okay. As you can see, this is a collaborative effort of the entire group. We have even signed the entire thing because we're so proud of that we have actually in this short time found a solution, a process solution, because we realized that we don't know anything about these specific topics. We like them. Some of them like some topics a little bit more and a little bit less. But yeah, speeches are important for Manuel, for instance. And then we have the inundations. So yeah. So we thought, okay, let's do a compromise. We try to do it all. So then we discussed, okay, yeah, we need to think about the stakeholders. There's so many different people that need to be involved. It's the locals, the engineers, natural science, visitors, and so on. Yes, and then, okay, in order to do something, we need to have knowledge. Okay, what data, transparent data, a shared database, and then also maybe the social sciences, who values what, and what are advantages and disadvantages of these different solutions, and for whom. And then, okay, in order to think about this, we need to trust each other. We need to have a good process. How do we build that? Everyone has this equal access. Everyone is listened to, and everyone also knows why the decisions are made. Next thing, okay, then we need good methods for decision making. Okay, let's do value chains, multi-criteria analysis, and so on. And in order to do that, we have a good communication. So clear, avoid jargon, deliberation, and discussion, and not just throwing arguments at each other. And then, okay, this will result in a unified mindset. But this unified mindset, we cannot get to the vision and the plan from the beginning. We first need to agree on the problem that we should solve. And then comes the vision, and then comes the plan, and then we can do. And this is a process. So, did I forget anything? No? Thank you, Tina. Yeah. Yeah, AI free. This is entirely. It's real brains. Yes. And one more thing, I would really, if you don't know already about the Manabas Coast project, Interreg project that is working with nature-based solutions, I definitely recommend you to contact them and ask me if you need a name. But it's also available on the internet. Manabas Coast, I put it here. It's also working with nature-based solutions and how to mainstream them. I think you're a little bit in the same situation. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So guys, it's your turn now. Come on. There are two options. One person, the whole group, all of you. Perfect. Who's talking? Who's talking?
I'm holding.
So our group was more minimalistic. We were talking a lot, but writing not so much. And we chose the second topic about flooding and talking about barriers. Mostly, somehow we decided to talk about quite much about this kind of soft and cultural and policy-related aspect. Barriers against flood protection, the barriers to recognize the flood problem, first politics, too much short-time thinking in politics. Then a very interesting discussion was that despite we have a lot of knowledge about climate change and flood risks, but still many models are mostly history-based, not so much looking towards futures. And then we recognized also that there are kind of legislation gaps. Often municipalities try to push building on the shore. And there is also kind of low awareness of the flood risk in coastal societies, coastal communities as well. And then we have some solutions.
Maybe I can do a solution. Okay, great. No worries. So in terms of solution, we noticed like what's most important is that what we truly need is a future-oriented modeling. So not only gathering data, not only looking at the history, what we really have, but what we can consider. So if we get data, we know that climate is changing, and we know that the water levels are rising. So in which areas, how they're going to rise, where they're going to break the, for example, the dunes. So to have more, be oriented in future and push politicians or other decision makers into like, maybe it's worth to invest in that area, maybe it's worth to spend money on that. It's not really something bad to protect yourself in future by doing now. And also we consider the cross-sectoral approach that not only have a perception from your side. So if you're like from the touristic sector, so yeah, I don't want to lose money because my hotel is going to be flooded by water. Maybe be outside of the box mostly, maybe cooperate. So if you're going to spend money and cooperate with nature protection, maybe it's money, maybe you're going to get a lot of money from that. So it's beneficial for you. So think outside of the box, because there's maybe more money for you in that. So that's some way beneficial. Also, we had like restoring wetlands, which is natural observation, territorial context in terms of like, also looked at that the areas that are mostly flooding and why it's happening in this particular area. Maybe look inside, maybe if you're going to invest now in future and spend more money now, you're going to spend less money in future. So in that way, and also rising knowledge, everyday knowledge. So of course, knowledge is the power. Knowledge is the key. So remember about that. Thank you.
Sure. Any questions to the group? Comments? Okay, so we're perfect with time. I'll just wrap up very quickly. Do you guys want to say something, or just on behalf of our group? Okay, so it seems like preparedness, something that is very much promoted by the United Nations, IPCC, and all other organizations that are really talking about climate change consequences, is something that was in every group's work appeared. Definitely, it's better to be prepared than cry afterwards. Yeah. So I suppose that would be the summary of the session. We hope that you had interesting discussions and sort of eye-opening findings in the discussions and the presentations, and that you can take this message home and think about it in your daily life routines. So thank you very much, and to you, Aneta.
Yes, just a super wrap-up, yeah. Since I wear a blue badge, I wanted to say thank you to the leader of the session, Timon. Here is the black box. So this is, I will explain you what's inside. And and I have a gift also for the German colleagues. I hope this might be useful at your home. Here you go. Thank you for the presentation. Yes. Here you go. Thank you so much. And of course, Yanis, you will be the one who understands what's inside the gift. Yeah, thank you so much. And yes, to comment on the gift, because probably you have noticed that the black box is all the time somewhere somebody gets the black box. What's the one thing you associate with sea? Not good. You know, well, Baltic Sea maybe is not the greatest example, but we know that sea is salty. And here, Latvian team is giving a gift which is a specially designed salt with taste of Latvia. I tried it for 5 minutes, so good luck. I can give you now. And another technical remark, now we all navigate to 213 room to watch the video screening about the previous forums. 213. Yes, don't get lost in the way. 213, just across the other side.